townhall.com editor and a Fox News contributor. So here's what Zuckerberg said in part in the letter to Jordan. In 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. Clearly, this will be high on the list of questions that Kamala Harris will be getting when she sits down for that big interview before the end of the month.
We hope we see that interview. We shall see if one of these is one of the questions, because it is a big problem. You know, this is something that the Biden White House not only did, but they bragged about it from the White House podium in the briefing room. Jen Psaki said that they were doing this. And then, of course, when they were slapped down by the courts, they expressed disappointment that they couldn't continue to censor Americans. This is a situation where the federal government, the Biden administration, through all of its agencies, not just the White House communications team, was using big tech, Twitter before Elon Musk bought it, Facebook, other platforms as surrogates, essentially, to censor Americans and to violate their First Amendment rights by pressuring them to take factual information off of the internet. And especially when it came to narratives about COVID-19 that went against the agenda of the Biden administration. For example, it's nice that Zuckerberg is coming out and saying we were wrong, we shouldn't have caved to this government pressure. But it's a little bit of an about-face, considering that he, in March of 2020 rather, sent a letter to Anthony Fauci asking what he could do to help with this process. At the time, the lab leak theory was coming out from intelligence reports from the Secretary of State, from statements from Trump administration officials, and magically the lab leak theory disappeared from Facebook and Instagram. So it's nice he's admitting that they were wrong. They won't be doing this again, hopefully, but he also had a very big role in helping the government do this as a result of those censorship policies. All right, well, Doctor, I strongly agree that we need somewhat of a reset here. You know, as someone running a business, you know, I've said that I believe the best way to improve both public health and economic opportunity in this country is to focus on beating this virus first. And I also have to say, I think you might be quite generous in your description of the government's response here. You know, I was certainly sympathetic early on when it was clear that there would be some outbreaks, no matter how well we handled this. But you know, now that we're here in July, I just think that it was avoidable, and it's really disappointing that we still don't have adequate testing, that the credibility of our top scientists like yourself and the CDC are being undermined. And until recently, that parts of the administration were calling into question whether people should even follow basic best practices like wearing masks.
Hey, welcome back. It's your man Wise. And yes, we got to talk about it, man. Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Meta, yes, the guy who gave us Facebook and Instagram, well, he just dropped a bombshell. In a recent letter to Chairman Jordan and the House Judiciary Committee, Zuckerberg admits that he regrets working with the Biden-Harris administration during the COVID era to censor information online, violating millions of Americans' First Amendment rights. Zuckerberg has basically admitted to bending the knee to Democrats. Now, let me give you a full picture here. Zuckerberg wrote in his letter that the Biden-Harris administration repeatedly pressured Meta's teams for months to censor posts about COVID-19, including satire and humor. And we're not talking about just any posts. We're talking posts that challenged the mainstream narrative, posts that included jokes and memes, and posts that people were sharing to get through the madness of the pandemic. But because the Biden administration didn't like what was being said, they leaned on Zuckerberg and his team to shut it down. Zuckerberg himself said that he believes that the government pressure was wrong, and he regrets that he was not more outspoken about it. But hey, it's a little too late if you'd ask me. But this is a pretty big deal, people. Think about this, man. This is a guy who runs one of the most powerful social media platforms in the world, and he's admitting that he caved to political pressure. He's basically saying that his platform, which is supposed to be a place for free speech and open dialogue, was turned into a tool for the Biden administration's agenda. We now know for sure that the Biden-Harris administration was actively involved in pushing one of the largest, biggest social media platforms to silence dissent, to suppress any voice that dared to question the official story. Now let's rewind for a bit when Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of Homeland Security, sat before Congress and lied under oath. Yes, I said it. He lied. Mayorkas testified that the Biden-Harris administration wasn't working with social media platforms to censor content. Check this out.
Now, you said earlier this year that you disbanded the Disinformation Governance Board, which I thought was totally unconstitutional, but that turns out to be, at best, misleading. That's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what you're doing. Your own quadrennial review, which was just reported in the press, says that disinformation is going to be the new focus at DHS. The Quad Review says that DHS plans to target, I'm quoting now, inaccurate information domestically on a wide array of subjects, including, quoting, the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, the efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines, racial justice, U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, and the nature of U.S. support for Ukraine. A federal judge has just found as a finding of fact, Mr. Secretary, that your office, and I'm going to quote now, is supervising the nerve center of federally directed censorship. Here's another email, August 20th, 2021. Facebook writes again to HHS and highlights that Facebook is increasing the strength of our demotions for COVID and vaccine-related content. April 16th, 2021, Rob Flaherty at the White House circulates a Zoom meeting invitation to Twitter employees stating White House staff will be briefed by Twitter on vaccine misinformation. We have example after example of this administration coordinated, apparently, according to a federal court, by your agency, pressuring, coercing social media companies to engage in censorship. Is that constitutional?
That is unequivocally false.
Is what the emails show.
It is unequivocally false, Senator.
You are not pressuring the big tech companies to take down accounts. You are not meeting with them to ask them to censor on your behalf.
That is correct. We are not.
Mr. Secretary, it has been established for years in this country, as you very well know because you're a lawyer, that the federal government may not use private third parties to engage in activities that are unconstitutional. That's exactly what you and this administration are doing. You are leveraging private companies to carry out censorship on your behalf. It's dystopian, but worse than that, it's unconstitutional.
It's also false.
Yeah, so Zuckerberg just completely blew this out of the water. He basically admitted three things. First, the Biden-Harris administration pressured Facebook to censor Americans. Also, that Facebook actually then censored us. And finally, that Facebook censored the Hunter Biden laptop story ahead of the 2020 election. These are big admissions, including confirmation of interference from the Biden-Harris regime. Imagine if we had confessed that the Trump White House pressured his company to censor things that they didn't like. And then Trump had the CIA or FBI falsely claim that a laptop that they knew was real was fake in order to help him win the election. Could you guys imagine that? It would be bigger than Watergate. They call for an immediate impeachment, but no, it's the Democrats. So they get a pass every single time. The daggone mainstream media, they're disgusting, man, because they are not fair. And I know that, you only, find fair, in the different, places around the country. I get it. But they're supposed to be journalists. They're supposed to be neutral. And they are everything but that. Think about that, man. How many times have we heard the Biden administration talk about the importance of protecting us from misinformation? They even tried to set up a disinformation governance board, which, let's be real, it was nothing more than a censorship board. I mean, this is something right out of George Orwell's daggone 1984 book. I mean, it is insane, the things that these people were trying to do. And I am concerned that there aren't people talking about this more. I guess I'm not surprised that people on the left, because most of them, they're low information voters. I would assume that they've probably never even heard of George Orwell, more or less his book. But Kamala Harris was one of the big players behind that move. She's been pushing for a greater control over what we can and can't say online, all in the name of safety. But who gets to decide what's true and what's false? Apparently, the Biden-Harris administration thought that the job belonged to them, just like they think the job for everything belongs to the government. Think about that, man. They want to control what you can charge for your products and services. These people are dangerous, man. Forget about the First Amendment. I'll give him credit for finally coming out and admitting it, but what did he do? He went, and all the other big tech companies, they went along with it as well. And all these big tech companies, man, they're bought and paid for by the deep state and the Democrats. But now he's coming out and saying that it was wrong, that it went against the very principles of free speech that this country was founded on. And he's absolutely right. But honestly, he's like 3.5 years too late, but I guess better late than never. He's basically admitting that Meta became a tool for the government. And really and truly, they became a tool for the DNC. Let's just keep it real. They used the tool to control the narrative and silence any opposition. Think about how many people were kicked off of platforms, accounts suspended on Facebook for mentioning anything about C-19. But here's the kicker. This isn't just some minor slip up. We're talking about a coordinated effort to manipulate the public opinion during one of the most critical times in recent history. And to be honest with you, one of the most critical times in almost every person that is living in America right now in their lives. Remember the 2020 election, the same election where Facebook suppressed stories about Hunter Biden's laptop. Zuckerberg's now admitting that Meta demoted those stories because the FBI warned them that it was Russian disinformation. But guess what? It wasn't. The laptop is real. The stories are true. And Zuckerberg is now saying that in retrospect, they shouldn't have done it. So let's connect the dots real fast. The Biden-Harris administration pressured Meta to censor COVID-related content. They were behind the push to silence the Biden-Hunter laptop story. And now we know that they've been lying to us about it all along. Mayorkas lied under oath. The administration lied to the American people. And Zuckerberg, well, he's trying to make amends now, but the damage is already done. I'm finding the timing of this a bit odd, though. Why is he coming out about it now? Could it be because the influence of other tech giants like Elon Musk, who's been championing free speech over at X, formerly Twitter? Musk has been making waves by turning his platform into a beacon for open dialogue, and it's causing a ripple effect across Silicon Valley. Maybe Zuckerberg is feeling the pressure, realizing that the tides are turning, and he doesn't want to be left behind. I mean, his apology doesn't bring back the accounts that were banned, the posts that were taken down, or the voices that were silent. Some people even lost their livelihoods because they dared to speak the truth before it was officially accepted. Think about this. If our founding fathers, I would assume that our founding fathers are rolling over in their graves behind this situation right here, and behind a lot of the things that are going on in this country, and a lot of it being implemented by the Democratic Party. However, this could be a sign of more change coming down the line. He most definitely consulted with his legal, his PR, and other members before crafting this letter. He wanted to make sure that he couldn't be held liable in any kind of way, or Facebook couldn't be held liable in any kind of way. So it was probably a very calculated move. When the winds were blowing in Biden's favor, Meta was happy to censor, but now maybe he sees the writing on the wall. With X gaining more and more traction and the political winds seemingly shifting towards Trump and the Republicans, he could be thinking that Trump might win. And imagine if he comes out and endorses Donald Trump. The left would lose it. They would lose their freaking minds. But hey, anything is possible at this point. I mean, anything is possible at this point. Tulsi Gabbard comes out and endorses him. Daggone. Obviously, J.D. Vance, who wasn't a fan early on, he came back and now he's part of the campaign. You look at Elon Musk, who, had always considered himself to be liberal, and he decided that he's turning away from the Democrat Party. You look at RFK Jr., lifelong Democrat. He's turned away from the Democrat Party. I mean, the tides are changing in a major way. And either way, this could be a sign of something bigger. We'll have to wait to see. But at the same time, this has some insane implications for our country. Big tech and the government working hand in hand to censor Americans. This is crazy. It's crazy. It's Orwellian. It's right out of the pages of 1984. And to be honest with you, this isn't just about Meta or even social media. This is about the government overstepping its bounds, trampling over all of our rights, and getting away with it And no one, think about this, most of the American people either one, don't know it happened, or two, don't care that it happened. If the Biden and Harris administration can pressure a company like Meta into censorship, what the heck else are they capable of? How much of our freedoms are we willing to sacrifice before the American people stand up and say enough is enough? But let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel, drop me a comment down below. I appreciate all the love and support. Consider joining the ARP family. It supports me, the team, the channel. It gives us the ability to do what we do on a day-to-day basis. Keep God first in your life, stay prayed up, and I'm gonna catch up with you all next time. Peace.